Hey gang, excuse me, Uncle Todd and Sonny here. As you can see, we are heading into December, and we have a new friend to visit us this Christmas season, Mr. Oogie Boogie, Boogeyman. Taz is fascinated by it. Hey, go on, go play with your bags. Anyway, we are here to talk about the final episode of Follow the House of Usher. And what better time of year than the beginning of December, right? Heading into the Christmas season. Merry Christmas. Well, we open with Rodrick and Verna talking. Verna is a bit miffed at Madeline. She coerced Rodrick into trying to commit suicide as sort of a loophole in their agreement she thought she had found, which turned out she didn't, because Verna revived him. And she has a great statement about, well, you people never listen. I gave you the exact payment for what you agreed for, and now you're running around trying to squelch on it. Not going to happen. So Madeline is not too thrilled to find that Rodrick is still alive, and Roderick's not too thrilled to find out that Madeline and Pim were both working to replace him as CEO with Madeline. Madeline just tried to help the issue along by having him die. Well, that doesn't work. So, we then move on to Pim. As we go along, Verna is returning to the house. That's basically where she's been staying, apparently. And when she walks in, Pim is waiting, and he injects her in the neck with some kind of poison, and she kind of falls over, and he puts her in plastic and wraps her up. And then when he's getting ready to call for a body pickup, did it again. I gotta stop doing that. Body pickup. She laughs, and he finds she's standing off to the side, and when she steps on the body that's wrapped up, it collapses flat. And as they talk, he realizes he has seen her back in his youth at the North Pole. She had heard, about their expedition when they were coming by. She just had to go topside and see. And she offers him a deal. The Rodrick family is doomed. There is no getting around that. All in the Usher line are dying. He can't prevent that, no matter what he does. Also, Camille had kept many records on everybody, including Pim. She dug up all kinds of things. Now, Verna can't prevent him from going to jail. He can continue working. The Usher, or Fortunato, will of course be disbanded, because that can't be helped. There's no way to stop that. But she can see that he gets away. And when he asks what she would want in return, he doesn't have any children. She says, well, everybody has something they cherish. And he's like, no, I've something you cherish is also leverage. And I've spent my life making sure no one will have leverage over me. I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to stick with the cards I've been dealt. She commends him on that. Good for you. And then she leaves. Well, Lenore is staying at Roderick's penthouse. She's really got nowhere else to go. Her mother is safely at a burn victims center to help her, and she can't go back to the house. Interesting thing there. Pim was not happy with Lenore for not calling him so he could get, the whole thing with her mother and everything set up. You can't have bad publicity. It's important that Frederick maintain an image, now that he's gone, of being a devoted father and husband. And Lenore says, screw you, old man. I know what happened, and I'm not going to cover for it. And so she tells exactly what happened. Anyway, when Lenore goes to bed, there is Verna. And she apologizes. She's not really wanting to do this. Lenore is a true innocent and a good person. But the Ushers just willy-nilly, even though they knew the consequences of what would happen at the end of their agreement. But she tells Lenore, I have a wonderful story for you. Your mother is going to recover. It will be a painful and hard recovery, but she will recover. And she will inherit a great deal from the Usher fortune. And she will take that money and she will start a bunch of shelters for battered women and abused women and burn victims. And this foundation will be called the Lenore Foundation in her honor. And over the years, tens of people will be saved, then hundreds, then thousands, then millions. Then it will be incalculable how many are saved. All because of you. And then she taps her on the forehead, and Lenore dies. The only peaceful death we've had in this whole thing so far. Flashback to New Year's Eve, 1980. Rodrick and Madeline are at a New Year's celebration costume party. Everybody is declaring Rodrick the hero of the company. The government's not going to investigate them anymore. Well, at least not for a while. And wouldn't you know, what I thought was a demon that Rodrick kept seeing wasn't. It was his boss in a sort of Harlequin jester outfit. And he's congratulating Rodrick. He's put him up on you. He's his right-hand man now. He's told everybody he's the most trusted guy here. And he might have also bragged that he was the one who came up with the original idea of Rodrick pretending to turn over evidence, which that was really Madeline's, but that's neither here nor there. And Madeline shows him a bottle of Amontillado, very rare, 1925. And he's like, wow, this would cost you a year's salary. Well, not after tomorrow it won't. And they toast, and he downs his, and they're savoring theirs. And then Rodrick goes off to the restroom, and Madeline and his boss, they have a few slobbery kisses before in front of everyone, and then they excuse themselves. But they go down to the basement, where he assures her there is no one that could hear them. Nobody's going to be here for another week to complete this project. And they can do whatever they want. At which point he passes out from the drug drink. When he comes to, he's chained up in a little alcove that Rodrick and Madeline are close to finishing bricking up. And he tries to threaten them, bribe them, beg them, tell them they'll never get away with it. And they're like, well, yeah. You see, the thing is, the government will never let it go. So we need a scapegoat. There's always records of some malfeasance, and well, if you disappear, they'll assume it was you. And then, as you've talked Rodrick up so well, obviously he's the only trustworthy person to take over the company. The old board, they'll be tainted. Or the executives will be tainted. The board will obviously want Rodrick. And then she puts the Harlequin mask back on him, and they finish bricking it up. Now, in case someone did come the next day, he won't be alive because what he was doused with or drugged with was cyanide. They're surprised he even came awake after that point. So, that explains the wall Rodrick keeps going to. Then we cut to the bar after the New Year's Eve celebrations, where Madeline, Rodrick, and Verna are all sitting around having some last drinks. At which point, Verna reveals she knows everything they've done. She knows they killed their boss. She knows they're wanting to take back their father's company. And she tells them she can make that happen. All they have to do, she will make sure they get the company, and no matter what they do, they will never be held accountable. They will never serve time in jail. They will never be found guilty of anything. What does she want in exchange? Their souls? No, you already forfeited that when you killed your boss. No, she wants something a little more esoteric. They will both have a long life. They will be rich beyond their wildest dreams, will be able to do anything they want. But when they die, so does the Usher line. There will be no one after them. Now, Rodrick already has children. That means when he dies, they will die also. Madeline's like, well, I don't have any kids. He says, no, you don't understand. You both are in this together. You were born together. You're twins. You will die together, as will the Usher line. So they both have to agree. And they do, and they have a drink to celebrate. And then after they leave the bar, they turn around, and the bar's not there. It's just an abandoned building. Now they're probably drunk. And they forget about it for the next 50-some years. Returning to the present, Rodrick finds Lenore's body, and he is devastated. And in a drunken fit, is screaming and ranting, sees all his dead children in front of him, and then Verna shows up and says, it's time for you to go home. But before you do, you should call Dupin and have him meet you there. Which Rodrick does. But before Dupin gets there, he'd called Madeline. Madeline shows up. And he's down in the basement. And he's got a drink before him, and he looks up and says, you want a drink? She says, sure. He pushes that over to her and pours himself a new one. And they drink and reminisce. And then Madeline has trouble standing. And she realizes Rodrick has poisoned her, much as they did his former boss. And when she collapses, he takes her over to a table and says he's going to give her a queen's farewell. They'd been talking about Egypt, and he has all this stuff in the basement, as the pharaohs would have. And as she is a true queen, he will give her that kind of send-off. And using an Egyptian dagger, he cuts out her eyes, off camera, and replaces them with two Egyptian, I think, sapphires? Well, they're blue. And then we cut to him and Dupin, where he finishes his story. And there's been a lot of noise coming from the basement at this point. And Dupin asks him, "Are you sure Madeline's dead?" And Rodrick goes, "That's an interesting question. Our mother didn't stay buried either." And then Madeline comes up the stairs. She can't see. She's screaming and feeling and everything. And Dupin is horrified. And Rodrick just stands up and says, "Nevermore." And hearing that, she goes right to him and attacks him, strangling him. Just like the fall of the House of Usher. Sorry about that. And Dupin runs out because he can't take any more of this. And as he gets outside, the entire house collapses in on itself. And in a voiceover, he gives those final lines from the fall of the House of Usher. The aftermath. The investigation into the Ushers is closed. There's no point in going on with the case. There's no one left to try. Interestingly enough, Juno, as Rodrick's wife, inherits everything. And she immediately liquidates the entire company. Cuts it apart and sells off the pieces. And uses all that money to set up rehab centers around the world to help people get off the Fortunatu drug. And she herself manages to wean herself off of it. It was tough, but she did it, and she is clean. And Dupin retires. And he goes to visit the Usher graves. All 8 of them. 9. I'm sorry, 9. And he has a fitting last word for Rodrick. It turns out he is the richest man on the world. He doesn't have money, but he's going to go home to his husband, his children, and his grandchildren. After he leaves, Verna shows up, and she puts an object on each headstone that relates to that person. Rodrick gets a crown. Madeline gets the sapphire jewels. Frederick gets cocaine. Victorine gets the heart machine. Tamerlane gets a gold bug. Each one that appeals to all of them. The one I liked the best was Lenore's. It was a raven feather with a white flower. All the other ones were bad things that were attributed to him, but Lenore has the only innocent. Got something nice. And then she recites, I think it's the same poem, Song of the Sea or something like that. Anyway, and that's the end. Whew. What? Oh, and yes, Pym does get arrested and spends the rest of his life in jail. And that is the end of a pretty good adaptation. It's not as close of an adaptation as like the Roger Corman Vincent Price House of Usher, but as it's only like a 10-page story, maybe 15-page story, you gotta add to it. And I liked adding all the other Poe stuff into it. It's a really good creepy horror miniseries, and probably one of the best they've done in the past few years. What with American Horror Story and Haunting of Hill House, and what was the other one? I can't remember it anyways. But yeah, they've been doing a lot of those, and I think this is probably the best of them. I certainly liked it. Well acted, well written, some gory scenes, but nothing too bad. I mean, I don't think little kids should watch it, but teenagers, they should probably enjoy it. Although they might say there's not enough gore or nudity for that matter. But that's neither here nor there. Really good series. I highly recommend it. Is he going to do it? There it is! Okay. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.